Okay, I guess we'll go ahead and get started here. So welcome everybody. Very excited to have you guys here for a presentation that we're really looking forward to here at DDS. My name is Alan Biermacher and I'm actually the Customer Success Manager here at DDS CAD. And we're very excited to have Daniel and Josh with us today from Enscape for Simplified Design with Enscape 3.1 webinar presentation. Please, as the presentation goes on, just a couple things for y'all to note. You will all be muted for the presentation, just to keep the sound clean for everybody. If you do come up with any questions or anything like that throughout the presentation, please write them in the questions box or the chat box. And just enjoy. All right. Without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and turn it over.
Thanks, Alan. All right, to kick things off, my name is Daniel Monahan. I'm the business leader for Enscape here in the Americas. And with me, I have Josh Rattle, and Josh is a customer support and training manager here at Enscape. Josh and I are here today to talk to you a little bit about Enscape 3.1 and to share with you some resources that we have that can help you get up and running in real-time rendering and virtual reality. We're super excited to be here today. And I wanted to kick it off just, I know most of you are probably using Enscape. In fact, Alan, do we have that poll? Do we have a poll that we can run to ask that question?
Yep, I'm going to go ahead and launch that for you now.
Do that. So how many of you are currently using Enscape today versus new customers? That'd be a good thing to know before we kick this off.
Okay, and we'll give this just a couple more seconds here. Okay.
And then I won't be able to see the results, Alan, so if you could help me out with that.
Yeah, I should be able to show them actually. Let's take a look here.
Thanks.
Let's close this. Okay, and share the results. So, well, all right. I guess everybody here is a user, so that's good.
Well, that'll help us to kind of tailor the presentation and the content. So for you existing users, all of you existing users, it's just a few resources that you might not know about that I encourage you to decide to kind of to check out on your own. The first is the knowledge base. So if you're not familiar with our knowledge base, really for common questions, you can find what you need. Answers to your common questions are really just kind of a keyword search away. So you can find the knowledge base from enscape3d.com. Second, I really wanted to encourage existing users to sign up for the blog. It's really come a long way if you haven't seen it in a while. There's some great content on the blog, and it's really the best way to stay up to date with the company news, to get helpful tips and tricks, and really just to kind of stay in the know with what's going on here at Enscape. And then lastly, we hired a new social media manager, and there's been a lot of improvements to our YouTube channel. So I'd really encourage you, if you haven't been there lately, to check out our YouTube page. We'll store recorded webinars there. We have really interesting kind of videos from our users and industry influencers. And then you'll find some great examples of Enscape kind of in practice. So the knowledge base, the blog, and the YouTube videos. Of course, there's a free trial available from the DDS site. So if you have friends that would like to evaluate Enscape, or if you would like to download a copy of 3.1, you can find it from the DDS CAD site. And then lastly, I wanted to let you know about our Envision event that's coming up September 28th and 30th. This is our first ever user contest. We've got an incredible lineup of speakers and some fantastic technical sessions, and some special networking event that we've created that you can join. So if you're an existing customer, this is really going to be a tremendous value. It's going to be a great educational opportunity. It's free, and I encourage you just to go to enscape3d.com/envision to learn a little bit more. And with that, I'd like to turn the presentation over to Josh to talk a little bit more about Enscape 3.1 and how it's helping to improve today's design process. Josh?
All right. Thanks, man.
You're welcome.
And make me presenter.
All right, Josh, you're good to go.
All right. I have the power now. All right, monitor. Perfect. All right, everybody see my screen?
Yes.
Good to go. Cool. All right, let's get my face out of the way. All right. Hey, everybody. Great to be here. We're going to talk about the new features of Enscape 3.1 today. So we introduced some really, really cool things. So first, to start off, probably the biggest feature we did was our Enscape material library. So this is a big step for Enscape. This is the first of its kind for us. So this is our new material library right here. So you can access it up here. It's this little icon that looks like a material swatch. Once you click on that, you're going to see right away you get 244 pre-built and ready materials for us to use, because trying to find those right materials can be time consuming. It can be difficult to find, especially like seamless ones. It can be really cumbersome. It could take time away from actually designing, and materials are really an essential part of creating a very nice rendering. So what we did was we took the liberty and created our own library now. So again, this is going to be an ever-growing library. So with each new release, we're going to get a bunch of new materials to play with. So we can see here that, again, 244 of them to start. They're broken up by different categories. We have different types of bricks, concretes, grounds, fabrics, metals, just a bunch of different ones for you guys to try out. Again, this is going to be an ever-growing library. So let's look at how we get these materials inside of our project here. So right away to start, down here in the bottom left where it says imports texture storage, this is where you're actually going to set the location where these materials are going to be imported to. So you can, if you're working on a collaborative project and a shared project with the team, just simply set this location to be the project folder for that project. So if it's, again, if I was working on this project with the team, I just set that location. So now any materials that I set are going to be put to that project. Since I'm just working by myself, I have it going to my desktop or my documents folder. So from there, what we can do too is see how when we hover over the different material, we get like a little star that pops up. What's this going to do? It's going to allow us to favorite different materials. So we see here, I have this one favorited, so it pops up in my favorites view. All right, now let's get this material inside of our project here. So if I hit import selection, what this is going to do, this is actually going to import this into our Revit project here. So we can see here it just imported successfully. It gave me the green checkbox. All right, now I'm going to close this. Now I'm going to go see where that actually lives. So if I go up here to our materials and I scroll down, I can see this one is called this brick 03 right here, and see this has all of the materials that just came with that material. So again, that's how we get those materials in there. Now let's look how we actually get it onto our object. So what we can do now is, let's scroll over here and let's replace this brick material here. So if I go to edit type, go to the material that I want to replace it with. So if we have surface patterns set up in our materials already, if we already have it scheduling correctly, if we already have the naming convention set up, we don't want to mess with that. We have it looking and scheduling how we want. So what we're going to do is, Enscape just cares about the appearance path. So what we're going to do is, we're going to go to this button down here, that asset browser, and I'm going to go find our material in our document asset. So now let me scroll down, find this brick material. So what I'm going to do is I'm simply just going to hit replace. So I'm just replacing only the appearance path. I'm not replacing the name or anything else or any surface patterns that are applied to that material. All I'm simply doing is just replacing the appearance path. So now I can hit apply, I'll hit OK, and then OK, and I'll hit apply, and then OK again. Then we can see here, here's our new material applied to our wall here. So again, that's how you get those materials inside of your Revit project. Again, 244 pre-built ones ready for us to use. We get all the material maps with it. We get the albedo map, we get the normal map, and we get the roughness map. So again, those are already pre-set up for us. So we can sit there and utilize those. All right, so that was the material library. Now, another really big feature in 3.1, at least from the Revit side, is this Enscape material editor. So if I click on this material editor here, what this is going to do is, this is going to pull all of our materials that are already set up in Revit. For SketchUp users or Rhino users, this material editor is the exact same one that's in those other programs, and quite frankly, all the other programs that Enscape supports. It just was not in Revit. Now with 3.1, it is in Revit. So we can enjoy the benefits that this material editor has for us here. So now we can enjoy what we call a bidirectional hybrid link, essentially. So one thing to keep in mind though is this Enscape material editor is only going to show generic types of materials. So your material has to be a generic type. So that's one thing to keep in the back of your minds. Now what can this thing do? So if we go over here to our brick exterior, what we can do now here is anything we adjust inside of this material editor, it's going to push back into Revit. So that's a really great bidirectional link that we're talking about here. So what I mean by that is, say I need to change the tint color. So if I need this to be like a dark red brick. So now I can change this. Say I need to change the scale, because we know trying to change the scale in Revit, I have to change it for 4 different material maps or 3 different material maps. I have to go one by one. What's really cool is I can change all that inside of here, and it's going to do that for every single material map. So it saves us a little bit of time there. And again, all these materials are already set up with the different material maps as well. So we can further adjust these if we need to. And just to show you guys that this pushes back to Revit. All right, let's go back to the Revit material editor here. All right, here we go. We'll go back to that. We'll go to this brick exterior. Again, we can see it took the tint and it set up the size correctly. So again, that's a really nice benefit of being able to enjoy that bidirectional link, and it's instantaneously updating for us. So I'm just sliding buttons left and right to get the desired result that I'm looking for here. All right, so that's the real quick bidirectional link. What's also great about this material editor here is the ability to, when it comes to grass, so say we can see here too, that's got this little icon for grass. What that's showing is basically, that is the different types of materials that Enscape has. So we have a self-illuminating material, we have water. So now we can freely set our different material types to this, and then we get access to more parameters. So in terms of the grass, let's go all the way up to the ceiling where I have some grass here. Now what I can do, I can adjust all these individually and really get the result I'm looking for here too. And if I need to change the tint color, I can turn this to a different color green. Again, it's that easy to further help us visualize the results that we're looking for here. So it really makes it that easy as well. One other really big benefit of using this material editor is if we ever tried to place videos in a texture source, previously we had to go write a custom script in the identity tab of the material, and then we had to do some other things. Well, now we don't have to do that anymore, because again, remember, we had to go and write the code in the description. Now what we can do is we have a lot easier way to do this now. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back to the Enscape material editor here, and then I'll go down to this wood vertical right here. So now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to remove these materials right here. So now I'm simply just going to take my video texture that I want. I'm going to apply it to the albedo map. So if I go to my folder right here and I select the video texture that I want, now what I can do is I can see it be applied in real time over here. Now I can go and adjust the size accordingly. So I'll go over here and we'll say, I want this to be, say, 15 by 15. And now when I'm moving, I can see my video playing. Again, so this is a lot easier way to apply video materials to our models here. Another really powerful thing that we can do is we can set this to be a self-illuminated material. So when it's a self-illuminated material, now it's going to emit light. So if I go to nighttime mode here, you can see now my video is emitting light. And again, I can adjust the color of the illumination if I would like, and I just have further fine control over that. And again, since this is backlinking to Revit, if I go to this material inside of my material editor in Revit, we're going to see that it has the properties now for that. So we can see it put my video texture. It's just going to put a still image just as a placeholder. But we can see here now I have the self-illumination material types. So now I can further fine tune all of that inside of our material browser as well. So that's real quick about the material editor. That's the new material library as well. So that's two of the really big things that we have. the next feature that we have is what we call our Panorama Gallery. So our Panorama Gallery is essentially a way for us to take a bunch of different panoramas just by doing mono panorama here. Then what we do is we go over to our Manage Upload tab. We're going to upload those to our cloud storage system. We'll let this load up here quick. So again, over in our Manage Uploads tab here, it's going to pull the project that I'm working on currently. And we'll let this load up real quick. So this is going to allow us a lot easier way to share more than just one panorama. So we can see here I took a bunch of different panoramas. They're already uploaded to our cloud storage system. So how I'm going to access that is I'm going to go over to my Enscape3D.com, log in, I can hit uploads, and then I get this create mono panorama gallery. So how we're going to do that is essentially I'm going to pick the project that I'm working on. So essentially this project right here. We'll let that load up real quick. This is going to take all the panoramas that I have in my project, and I'm going to pick all the ones that I want to add to my gallery. So that I can hit start editing. And now what I'm able to do, I'm able to place I can click and drag and move these in any order I want. And then to get the nice gallery that I'm looking for here. Then what I can do, I can hit save as, I can call it my new gallery because I want to call it my new gallery, or I can call it the name of the project if I want. So I can hit save. What this is going to do, this is going to generate our gallery for us. And now what we can do is we can now if I exit out of this, I'll see my new gallery pop up right here. So I can click inside there. And now this is exactly what I'm going to get. So now I can flip between the different views. So again, this is a lot easier way than kicking out a bunch of panoramas, sending those individually to our clients. Now we can set up a series of them if we want, and we can now send these out to our clients as one nice little gallery and see exactly what we want them to see. And if you hover over the bottom, you can see the couple different icons we have there. So how we share it is if you hit the three dots right here, you can hit the share options. So I can copy this link, or I can even send it directly to the client via their email address. So that's the Panorama Gallery. Now onto our other feature that we have is called our Simplified Assets. So our Simplified Assets we ship with 60 of them to start. So if I go over to our Enscape Assets and I hit the filter by Simplified right here, what we can see here is here's our bunch of different simplified assets that we've created. So let me go back to a daytime mode here, so it's better to see this. So what these are going to do is these are basically exactly what it says, simplified assets. So these are just going to help us more in the early stage design. If we're not at the point for materials or anything, or if we don't have an actual information that we're trying to convey, if we're just trying to simply convey there's a tree here, what we can do is we can simply place these along the scene just like we normally do with any other asset, except these ones are, they're completely white, so no color to them, and they're a lot more simplified, so it even gives it a nice early stage design look to it as well. So that's where we can start placing these. Again, we have people, we have a couple vehicles, we have a couple different buildings as well, so you can really get a nice early stage development of it. You see I put this one through the window in here, but again, that's the type of early stages that we can do here. So I can just delete that as well. And then again, as far as people go, same thing, we can place people. Let that be placed real quick. Yep, there's our simplified person. So again, we can really get a nice early stage development look for this as well. One little tip, if you guys have not yet tried this, how my assets are loading a lot quicker, how I'm able to scroll through them, is I'm using this offline assets button. When you're doing that, once you click offline assets, it's going to ask you for a folder location. Please, it's very important to know, create an Enscape asset folder and then put that folder as the one that you want these assets to go to. So that's very critical to understand for that point right there. All right, so that is real quick, the simplified assets, again, that's going to be an ever-growing library too. If there's any, again, if there's assets that you would like to see in there, feel free to throw them in the chat or even reach out to us. Say, hey, I really like this to be a simplified asset. Again, feel free to reach out to us on that one. All right, so that's all the stuff that's going on the surface of Enscape. Now what we're going to do is we're going to take a look at some stuff that's going on underneath the hood from behind the scenes. So first, what we're going to look at is the Raytrace Sun Shadows. So if you go up to the General Settings tab and you go to rendering, you can see these hardware features. You have this DLSS, denoiser, and Raytrace Sun Shadows. So what we're going to do is I'll show you a couple examples of what this looks like. So now it's a lot easier to get even higher quality renderings and realism, obviously with this new Raytrace Sun Shadows. So what this is doing, this is using NVIDIA's RTX ray tracing technology. You know, this has been a part of Enscape for quite some time now, but now this gives us more, it gives us the ability to do more fast and accurate lighting reflection calculations. So what we were doing before and why this is so powerful is we were simply taking a silhouette of the object and we were putting that onto the object that's around there. So you can see on the left, we have Raytrace Sun Shadows off, and on the right, we have Raytrace Sun Shadows on. So again, we were previously taking a silhouette of an object and projecting that onto a surface. Now what we're doing with this new feature is we're actually sending rays of light from Enscape's sun, and we're actually processing those wherever the light is hitting the surface. So again, wherever the light is being shown on whatever object, all the different parts of that object are now being projected on, or they're basically like being projected onto the surface now. So again, it's going to result in higher and sharper images. You're not going to see this when you navigate around the model in real time, but if you do stop and let Enscape sit for a sec, that's when you see the sun shadows kick in. So that's why I'm showing you still images instead of walking around in there. You'll also get these in panorama exports as well. So let's take a look at a couple different ones here. So here's RTX off, here's RTX on. So we can see here more sharper shadows for more added realism here. This is more true to life of what this would actually be doing in real life. All right, let's look at another one here. So there's before and there's after. So again, we can see again where things are touching each other a lot more now. We're getting a nice sharper shadow in there. So there's the after, there's before, so we can see again much finer detail as well. One more just to show you guys. All right, so again, we can see here too on the shadows, a lot sharper, cleaner, crisp looking reflections than what we were previously getting. All right, again, notice with the shadows as well. So that's the RTX ray tracing shadows. One thing to note is you do have to have a RTX capable card to be able to utilize these features. So that is those ones. So the next up is what we call NVIDIA DLSS. This is a big one for us now. So with DLSS, what this is doing, let's get this so we can see a side-by-side comparison here. All right, so we now are utilizing NVIDIA's DLSS. It's called deep learning super sampling. So this is their AI technology that is basically, it's an upscale rendering technique. So what this is going to do is essentially it's going to allow Enscape to render internally at a lower resolution. So we can see here on the left, this is what is being rendered. So we can see here it's not that great a quality, so it's about half resolution, but that's going to allow it to render a lot faster, because now with the AI, DLSS, it's filling in those gaps of what the missing quote unquote frames are essentially. So this is going to allow for faster rendering times and a much better experience as well. So this is utilizing NVIDIA's tensor cores. So this is going to give us, again, a much cleaner and sharp resolution for both videos and high performance virtual reality walkthroughs. So now what this is going to do, again, so for better, faster video quality, we're going to be getting up to 30% faster on 1080 displays, to 6 times faster on 8K displays. We're going to get faster video rendering and much smoother video rendering as well. And this is going to help us improve virtual reality performance and pave the way for next generation hardware such as the Quest 2 and the Vive Pro 2. So again, this is, you do need to have an NVIDIA RTX capable graphics card like I was talking about. If you guys would like, feel free to, we can talk about that later if you guys would like, but this is some stuff that's going on underneath the hood of Enscape now. So again, this was something completely new to 3.1 for us. And again, you can find this feature up here in the hardware features under NVIDIA RTX features, DLSS and denoiser, and the Raytrace Sun Shadows. If you would like to learn more about what DLSS is, on our blog, we have two very, very in-depth articles. One is from our friend Dan Stein, where he took a deep dive into what DLSS is, and he gets a lot more into the hardware aspect of it as well, and his experiences with it as well. So again, definitely check that one out. Another one we have on the blog is where NVIDIA wrote an article up for us as well. So again, they go even more in depth as well too about the behind the scenes of what DLSS is and how Enscape integrated that as of 3.1, and then it gets into talking about some of the benchmark performances. So again, definitely recommend checking those out. And those are that's all the new features of Enscape 3.1. Let's have some questions if you guys have any.
All right, thank you, Josh.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Here, let me pull up some questions here. All right, so first question I had here, I need to buy a new computer. What would you recommend?
Great question. So Enscape is a GPU rendering engine. So we recommend at least a machine with a graphics card that has 2 gigs of RAM at least. I'd recommend at least 4. If you're going to get into VR, 8 gigs. But from there, it's completely dependent on the design application. So Revit's a CPU-driven program, so you're going to need a good CPU for that. Some things that determine performance is some good high-speed RAM. Depending on how big your projects are, you'll need to look at how much RAM you need. And then, again, the graphics card as well. And obviously a fast drive when we're sending stuff back and forth. So those are all things that'll help increase load time as well when we're changing things in Revit and pushing it to Enscape. So typically gaming machines work best.
Okay, great. All right. And as you guys, if you have any questions, please feel free to write those in as well. Okay, next question. How can I get support if I need help?
Great question. So there's a couple of different ways you can do that. So up here in our feedback button, so if for some reason you experience a crash in Enscape, go up to this feedback button right here, type in, hey, I crashed, or what you were doing, like, hey, doing a rendering, it crashed. And then be sure to include these log files as well, because what that's going to do is that's going to send it to our support team, myself included. And then from there, we can read these log files and see exactly what you were doing and when the crash occurred. And that'll help us better understand how to better get you the quicker answers to help you get back up and running. Or the other way that we can do this is if you go to our website, enscape3d.com, and then you scroll all the way down, and then there's this request free personal demo. So if you have a general question, or if you're trying something and you can't quite figure it out for some reason, you can definitely set up a personal demo, a free 30-minute demo with either myself or our other application engineer here, or we have another application engineer out of Europe as well. So definitely set that up. These tie directly to our calendars. So you'll be able to get, that's how you know that we'll have some time. So that's another way to get like a one-on-one session with us.
Great. All right. Next one here. How large is the asset library, and can I create my own custom assets and materials, or am I limited to what is provided by Enscape?
Great question. So let's start with the asset library first. So the asset library, it's about 6 gigs, I believe, once you download it. So it's not too bad, but it definitely helps be able to fly through all the assets in one. So if you don't see one in here that you need, or if you're doing a complete custom one, if you have an FBX file or an OBJ file or a GLTF file, what you can do is you can go up here to this custom assets and you can create your own custom asset out of that. So that's where you just simply hit the plus button, you'll be taken to a window, and then from there you import your 3D model, and then from there you scale it correctly, and then you generate the thumbnail, and then it pops up over here in your custom assets, and you can place it the exact same way like you would a normal asset. So
Josh, just to kind of elaborate, I think there's over 2,500 assets that we currently ship with in the library.
Yep. So yep, over 2,500 different assets. So
growing.
Yeah, and again, ever growing too, just like the material library. That one's going to be ever growing. So now what we can do, so that's the custom assets. So for materials, what we can do as well, no, you're not limited to just the ones that Enscape creates. You can definitely utilize those and feel free to change those up as well. Or what you can do is, let's create a new material and try this out. So if I go over to materials and I hit, I'm just going to create a new generic material. So I'm going to hit create new material. And I'm going to call this test material. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to hit apply. I'm going to hit OK. And let's say I want to apply this to this floor right here. So now what I can do is I can hit, edit type. I'm going to assign my new material to this one. So I'm going to go to my test material here. Because I want this one to be my new material now. So I'm going to hit OK. I'm going to hit OK. And now I'm going to go over to our Enscape material library, because now I want to visualize it. I want to add custom texture to it. Again, I can add the textures just like I do in Revit, but I want to do this inside the Enscape material editor. So I'm going to go find our material. So I'm going to hit test material. This is where I can start adding in these different ones. So if I have custom textures that I've created in, say, like Substance, I can add those in, or I can go find those online. So how I would do that, I would just go to textures. I'm going to go to my custom library of textures here, and let's say I want to add in some tile material. So let's add in these ones here. So I'm going to hit this floor tile right there. I'm going to add the bump map into the height map tab. So I will add in, let's say, I'm going to put the roughness map in there. And then for the reflections, I'm going to add in, wait for this to load. Now I'm going to add in either the roughness map. In this case, I'm going to put the spec map because I want to get creative with it. And now I can see my new material applied to my surface. If I really like this, what I can do now is I can actually export this material as a material package. So this is where I can start setting up my Enscape ready materials. So now I can freely pass these off to our other coworkers, and they can go file import these, and they can work off the same material settings that you were working off of. So hopefully that answers that question.
Perfect. Yep, I think so. All right. So next question: does Enscape work with other modeling programs besides Revit? I know you touched on that one, but I'll let you take that one away.
Yeah, no, great question. So Enscape works with SketchUp, ArchiCAD, Rhino, Vectorworks, and Revit.
Perfect. And the last one, unless we get another one that comes in, can Enscape be used for landscape architecture, or is it just for buildings?
No, great question. We are seeing an uptick in landscape designers using it. So again, we have a really good library of vegetation so far, and again, it's going to be ever growing. So we can definitely check out all the different vegetation on there. So there we go. Yeah, here's a good list of all of our vegetation. So currently have 523 different vegetation assets. So again,
I think what's interesting about Enscape for landscape design, particularly in a Revit workflow, is that you can link the images, the assets in Enscape to the objects or families in Revit. So as you're creating your planting plans or your three-dimensional models in Revit, all of your schedules can also be updated. So unlike other landscape rendering programs where your rendering model is completely separate from your BIM model, because we're integrated into Revit, as you're generating your planting plan at the same time, you're also generating your planting schedule and other reports.
Got it. Great. Okay, well, so I don't see any more questions. So thank you all for being here. Thank you, Josh and Daniel, for your presentation today. And as always, if you guys need anything, please feel free to reach out to us here at DDS CAD. Our phone number here is 305-445-6480, and our email is info@ddscad.com.
Thank you.
Thank you all.
Yeah, thank you guys.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.